So a couple of weeks back, I interviewed a world-class circus performer, Laido Dittmar, for my new podcast, The Other Pill Podcast. Laido is a world-class juggler that still performs in the Cirque du Soleil, and he's one of 4 people in the entire world who have ever been able to juggle 11 rings at the same time. This is definitely someone who is at the top of their field for a particular skill, so I decided to spend a large portion of the interview trying to figure out exactly how he got that good. And today I'll be summing up what I learned to show you the secret to mastering any skill. Now, according to Laido, the secret all comes down to how you practice. If you think about it, most of us practice like this. We warm up for a little bit, then we run drills on something that we're familiar with to try to perfect it, and then at the very end of the session, or a little bit here and there, we'll try to do something new, something that's on the edge of what we're comfortable with, something that is outside of our comfort zone. So it's probably something like 10% warming up, then 70% practice and trying to perfect old stuff, and finally the last 20% is trying out new stuff that's beyond what you're comfortable with. I could definitely relate to this because I first got introduced to the world of dance all the way back in middle school, and I remember back then I would just practice the same 4 to 5 moves over and over again. I was obsessed with perfecting my footwork, so I ended up spending maybe 90% of my practice time throughout the next 3 years on just those couple of moves. And now that I'm thinking about it, this was probably the reason why I did not see much improvement in my abilities for the first couple of years. Now, according to Laido, the easiest way to start massively improving is by adopting a completely different way of practicing. He suggests warming up and quickly transitioning into the stuff that's past your limits, and then at the very end of your practice session, going back to the things that you want to perfect. So his formula looks something more like this: 10% warming up, 70% trying out something that is beyond your current capabilities, and then the last 20%, when you start to feel a bit tired, that's when you go back to the stuff that you want to perfect. When he revealed his unique way of practicing, I immediately thought of a kid who can't really swim being thrown into the deep end of the pool. So I'm going to call his method of practice deep end practice. And I can definitely attest to the efficiency of this form of practice, because when I finally got to college, I remember thinking to myself, damn, my footwork is pretty good, but I don't know what to do with the rest of my body. So I started placing limits on myself when I practiced. For example, I would tell myself, okay, I'm going to dance to this song, but only with my arms or only with my head. And the moment I started practicing like this, the moment I spent the majority of my time on things that were outside of my comfort zone, that's when I started seeing rapid improvements. That's when I finally became a decent dancer. Now, some of you might be thinking, well, how can you perfect the old stuff if you're spending so much of the time on practicing new stuff? And that's a valid concern, but what's interesting is, according to Laido, if you spend time on things beyond your capabilities, you'll often notice a significant improvement when you go back to practicing the old stuff. For example, he discovered that trying to juggle 8 rings at the same time actually made him better at juggling 6 rings as compared to only practicing with just 6 rings. And the reason this happens is most likely because when you practice things outside of your comfort zone, you're actually learning new techniques that makes your overall skill better. You're also being forced to be more present when you're trying to push your limits, and this causes the quality of your practice sessions to be better, as you're putting in your entire 100% focus into the session. So to sum things up, if you want to become the best of the best, you should try deep end practice by spending the vast majority of your time on movements and techniques that are currently beyond what you are capable of. Spend time pushing your limit as compared to practicing the old stuff. Try it out and let me know what happens. And of course, since we're talking about skills, this episode was brought to you with the help of the guys over at Skillshare, which is an online learning community with thousands of classes, topics ranging from things like copywriting to animating. Speaking of animating, I know a lot of you have been asking about how we make these videos. If you want to learn exactly how some of our artists do this, all you got to do is check out Animation for Illustration by Libby Vanderplug on Skillshare. It's a beginner-friendly course that will introduce you to many of the things we use for our videos. Skillshare is giving away access to their premium membership to the first 1,000 people who click on the link in the description box below. After that, it's only $10 a month, which is incredibly affordable compared to what you would have to pay to learn these skills in an in-person class. So definitely check it out. Besides that, guys, stay tuned.